A man walks into his home, expecting a quiet night, but what he sees stops his heart cold. His wife, his boss, together, in his own bed. Betrayal is one thing. But what happened next? Shocked investigators left a trail of chilling clues and remains one of the most disturbing unsolved mysteries of the decade. The perfect revenge or the perfect crime? If you enjoy deep dives into shocking true crime stories, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Your support helps us bring you more gripping cases just like this one. It was a cold November evening in 2014 when 38-year-old Daniel Mercer parked his car in the driveway of his suburban Atlanta home. He was early, too early. A last-minute cancellation at work meant he could surprise his wife, Lisa, with takeout from her favorite Thai restaurant. But as Daniel stepped inside, the house felt wrong. There was a pair of men's shoes by the door, and they weren't his. He heard soft whispers, then laughter, muffled, intimate, coming from the bedroom. With his heart pounding in his ears, Daniel walked toward the half-open door. What he saw sent ice through his veins. Lisa and another man, tangled in the sheets. But it wasn't just any man. It was his boss, Ryan Caldwell, CEO of the tech firm where Daniel had worked for nearly a decade. For a moment, the world seemed to freeze. Then Lisa turned. Their eyes locked, and in that split second, something inside Daniel shattered. Without a word, he turned and walked out. Lisa called after him, but Daniel didn't stop. He didn't scream, didn't fight, didn't cry. He just disappeared for days. And when he returned, something was different. At first, Lisa thought Daniel was just processing the betrayal. He was cold, distant, but not angry. If anything, he seemed eerily calm. Too calm. Then, things started happening. Ryan Caldwell, the powerful, confident CEO, suddenly became a nervous wreck. His car was vandalized. His home broken into. Nothing taken. Just trashed. Anonymous threats flooded his inbox. Lisa began receiving strange, cryptic notes, written in Daniel's handwriting. I see everything. I know what you did. Justice is coming. She tried to reach Daniel. No answer. Then, just like that, both Daniel and Ryan disappeared. A week later, a jogger in the woods near Lake Lanny made a gruesome discovery. A black briefcase, torn open, papers scattered, bloodstains. Inside, a photo ID, Ryan Caldwell's. Police scoured the area, and then they found the first body. But it wasn't Ryan. It was Lisa. Her throat was slit, her hands bound, a single word carved into her chest. Liar. No sign of Daniel. No sign of Ryan. Until a shocking 911 call came in. A fisherman, miles away, had just pulled something out of the lake. A severed hand, and clutched in its stiff fingers was a wedding ring. Daniel Mercer's wedding ring. 2 days after the grisly discovery at Lake Lanny, police received a call from a gas station clerk 40 miles away. A man had stumbled in just before dawn, soaking wet, dazed, hands trembling as he grabbed the counter. Help me, he whispered. They're after me. The clerk recognized him immediately. The face was all over the news. Ryan Caldwell. But before the clerk could call 911, Ryan bolted. CCTV footage showed him running into the woods. Police launched a search. Hours passed. Then, deep in the forest, officers found a makeshift campsite, a burnt-out fire, empty food wrappers, and something else. A hunting knife. Its blade, still wet with blood. Not far from the campsite, officers found something far more disturbing. A cabin. Old. Abandoned. Windows shattered. But inside, someone had been living there. Recently, the walls were covered in photos. Lisa, Ryan, and Daniel, their faces slashed with red ink. Pinned to the wall, pages from Daniel Mercer's old journals. One passage stood out. There is no greater betrayal than trust turned to poison. And poison has only one cure. And on the wooden floor, a message scrawled in what looked like dried blood. I'm not done. But the cabin was empty. Whoever had been there, whoever had written those words, was already gone. An elderly couple, driving down a quiet highway at dusk, spotted something strange on the side of the road. A man, limping, clothes torn, his face half covered in mud. They pulled over, thinking he needed help. But as soon as their headlights hit him, he ran straight into the woods. The couple called the police. And when officers arrived, they found something chilling near the spot where the man had been standing. A wallet. Inside was an ID. Daniel Mercer. The discovery of Daniel Mercer's wallet should have answered questions. Instead, it only created more. If Daniel was alive, why hadn't he come forward? And if he wasn't the one floating in Lake Lanny, then who was? The police needed answers. Fast. Tracking dogs were brought in, tracing the scent from where Daniel had allegedly been spotted. The trail led deeper into the woods, twisting, turning, until the dogs stopped, dead in their tracks. At first, officers thought they'd lost the scent. Then, they saw it. A shallow grave. The dirt was fresh. Loose. One officer stepped forward, nudging at the soil with his boot. It caved in almost instantly, revealing something beneath. A hand. Not severed like the one found in the lake. This one was attached to an arm that was attached to a body. A male, face down, unrecognizable. His clothes were torn, skin bloated from exposure. But the most unsettling part? There was no blood. Whoever had killed him had drained him dry. The coroner would later confirm the cause of death, exsanguination. Someone had bled this man out, methodically, carefully, like a hunter dressing a fresh kill. And when they turned the body over, officers gasped, because they recognized the face immediately. Ryan Caldwell. The crime scene was brutal, but it was also calculated. There were no defensive wounds on Ryan's body, no signs of a struggle, which meant one thing. He had known his killer. As investigators processed the area, they found something else. A small, leather-bound notebook. It was half buried under leaves, its cover soaked with morning dew. When they flipped through it, they realized it wasn't just any notebook. It belonged to Daniel Mercer. And inside, he had written something chilling. Page after page, he detailed plans. Plans for revenge. Plans for justice. Plans for something far worse than murder. One entry stood out among the rest. The heart stops pumping long before the soul is ready to leave. Some people deserve to feel every second of it. The final entry was dated 2 nights before Ryan's disappearance. It read simply, "Tonight, we finish this." With Ryan Caldwell's body now accounted for, the police were left with an even more horrifying question. Where was Daniel? Had he gone on the run after the murder? Was he planning something else? Oh, was he hunting again? The press went wild. News stations speculated about a cold, calculated killer on the loose. Some called Daniel a psychopath. Others called him a vigilante. But then, a break in the case. A gas station surveillance camera, 12 miles from the crime scene, captured something shocking. A man, dirty, haggard, clothes torn, walking alone in the dead of night. He kept his head low, shoulders hunched, moving with purpose. And when he looked up, the camera caught his face. Daniel Mercer. Alive. Within hours, police flooded the area, setting up roadblocks. But Daniel had vanished again. Then, at 2:37 a.m., another 911 call came in. This time, from a woman. Her voice was frantic, her words barely coherent. She lived in a remote cabin, deep in the woods, and had just woken up to find her front door wide open. Nothing was stolen. Nothing was broken. But someone had been inside, and they had left something behind. A single item, placed carefully on her kitchen table. A wedding ring. Daniel Mercer's wedding ring. The discovery of Daniel Mercer's wedding ring inside the woman's cabin was no accident. It was a message. But to whom? The woman who had called 911, 56-year-old Eleanor Brooks, had no known connection to Daniel Mercer. She lived alone, mile from the nearest town, rarely interacting with the outside world. So why had Daniel chosen a house? Police arrived within minutes, swarming the property with floodlights and search dogs. The cabin was empty. No forced entry. No signs of struggle. Just a wedding ring, sitting in the center of the kitchen table, like a gift waiting to be unwrapped. But then, one of the officers noticed something. The ring wasn't just sitting there. It was resting on a folded piece of paper. With shaking hands, he picked it up and opened it. There were only 4 words. "You're looking the wrong way." The officer barely had time to process what it meant before a call crackled through his radio. "We found something. About a mile east. You're not gonna believe this." 1 mile away from a cabin, hidden in a dense thicket of trees, officers stumbled upon something they never expected. A car. Not just any car. Daniel Mercer's old silver sedan. The same car he was last seen driving before he disappeared. The doors were unlocked. The keys still in the ignition. The engine, stone cold. But what was inside the car was even stranger. The passenger seat was covered in dried blood, and resting in the driver's seat was a cell phone. It was turned off, but when police powered it on, they found a single video waiting in the camera roll. It was recorded in pitch darkness. The only sound at first was a heavy breathing of the man holding the phone. Then, whispers. A voice. Low. Controlled. "Do you understand what you took from me?" A pause. Then, the sound of someone gasping. Struggling. "You thought this was over? You thought death was enough?" Another pause. Then, one final, chilling sentence. "There are worse things than dying." The video ended. The timestamp? The night before Ryan Caldwell's body was found. And now, the police had no choice but to consider the horrifying possibility that Daniel Mercer wasn't just killing. He was making his victim suffer first. As police scoured the woods, a new lead emerged. A former co-worker of Daniel's came forward with something strange. 3 days before Daniel's wife Lisa was murdered, she had received a bank transfer of $50,000. The source? A shell corporation traced back to a vacant warehouse on the outskirts of town. A warehouse that, according to records, had been rented under a fake name just weeks before Daniel disappeared. Officers raced to the location. It was old, rusted, long abandoned. But when they pried open the doors and stepped inside, they found a chair, bolted to the floor, leather straps still dangling from the armrests, and on the wall, carved deep into the concrete, a single word. Liar. It was the same word that had been carved into Lisa's body. Daniel had been here, but was he still alive? Or was he watching? Then, the final breakthrough. A surveillance camera, positioned just outside an old gas station, picked up a blurry figure walking past at 4:12 a.m. Even through the grainy footage, they could make out his face. Daniel Mercer. He was thinner than before, haggard, like a man who had been running for too long. But he wasn't just passing by. He was heading somewhere. And in the next frame, they saw where. An old motel, just 3 miles from where Ryan Caldwell's body had been found. Police swarmed the area, guns drawn, adrenaline high. Room 207. The door was locked from the inside. One officer knocked. "Daniel, we know you're in there. Open the door." Silence. Then, movement. Slow footsteps, approaching the door. A shadow passing under the crack. Then, a voice. Soft. Calm. "You're too late." The door burst open. The room was empty. No sign of Daniel. But on the bed, neatly arranged, was a stack of papers. Police flipped through them. Page after page of Daniel Mercer's handwriting. His thoughts. His plans. His rage. And then, on the final page, one last sentence, scribbled in red ink. "You think you're hunting me. But I was hunting you." And that's when an officer's radio crackled to life. "We've got another body." This time, the victim wasn't a cheating spouse, wasn't a corrupt businessman. It was a police officer, a detective, one of the men leading the investigation into Daniel Mercer. His body was found in the trunk of his own patrol car, a knife wound clean through his throat, and pinned to his chest a single playing card, the King of Hearts. On the back, a handwritten message, "Checkmate." The media exploded. The public was terrified. And then, just like that, Daniel Mercer was gone. No more sightings. No more messages. Just gone. Some say he fled the country. Others believe he's still out there, watching, waiting. And some believe he was never just a man. He was something else entirely. A ghost, a nightmare, a name spoken only in hushed whispers. Because if Daniel Mercer was still out there, he wasn't finished yet. And the next time he appeared, it wouldn't be for revenge. It would be for something far worse.